In the modern world, we are constantly told a single story about success. It is a story that screams at us from every screen and every headline. The story says that more is always better. More money, more growth, more hustle, more noise. We are told that if we are not maximizing every single dollar, if we're not optimizing every single second of our day, then we are falling behind. We are told that sleep is for the weak and that satisfaction is the enemy of progress. And so we run. We run on a treadmill that never stops moving. We check our stock portfolios at 6 in the morning before we have even kissed our families hello. We refresh news feeds, hoping to find the next golden ticket that will finally let us rest. But the rest never comes. Because in the culture of more, there is no finish line. There is only the next target. But what if this entire approach is wrong? What if the secret to building lasting wealth and true happiness is not found in the pursuit of more, but in the mastery of enough? Far away from the noise of Wall Street and the quiet, freezing landscapes of Scandinavia, there exists a different philosophy. It is a mindset that has allowed nations like Sweden and Norway to become some of the wealthiest and happiest places on earth. They do not obsess over beating the market. They do not glorify the grind. They have a word for it: Lagom. It translates roughly to not too little and not too much, but just the right amount. It sounds simple. It sounds almost boring. But do not let the simplicity fool you. This single concept is the most powerful financial tool you will ever discover. It is the antidote to the anxiety that is currently destroying the mental health of investors across America. My name is Mindset for Wealth, and today I want to invite you to do something different. I want you to stop running. I want you to pour yourself a cup of coffee, sit down, and take a deep breath. We are going to take a long, slow look at why the chase for more is keeping you poor, and how the Scandinavian art of Lagom can make you wealthy in a way that actually matters. If you are tired of the noise, and if you are looking for a signal in the storm, then you are in the right place. Welcome to the quiet path to wealth.
Welcome to Mindset for Wealth, where money meets mindset.
Let us begin by looking at the trap we are all living in. It is a trap that is very difficult to see because it is painted in gold. We live in a society that celebrates accumulation above all else. From the moment we are old enough to understand money, we are taught a simple equation: success equals more. If you have $1,000, you should want 10,000. If you have 10,000, you should want 100,000. And if you reach $1 million, the celebration lasts for perhaps a day or two. And then the question comes, what is next? Why not 2 million? Why not 5? This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. Imagine a hamster running on a wheel. The hamster is running as fast as it can. Its heart is beating. Its muscles are working. It feels like it is making progress because it is expending so much energy. But when it stops and looks around, it realizes it has not moved an inch. We are that hamster. We work harder to buy a nicer car. The car feels amazing for 3 weeks. We smell the leather and we admire the shine. But then the shine fades. The car becomes just a car. And suddenly we notice that our neighbor has a newer model. Or we notice that the car requires expensive maintenance. So we need more money again. The baseline for our happiness shifts upward every single time we reach a new level of wealth. This is the great tragedy of the culture of more. It promises satisfaction, but it delivers only hunger. It is an unquenchable thirst. And nowhere is this more dangerous than in the world of investing. Think about how the modern financial industry operates. It is an industry built entirely on your dissatisfaction. If you were perfectly happy with a slow and steady return of 7 or 8% per year, Wall Street would go out of business. Financial news channels would have 0 viewers. Trading apps would have 0 users. They need you to feel like you are missing out. They need you to feel that if you are not buying the latest artificial intelligence stock or the newest cryptocurrency, then you are a failure. They need you to believe that everyone else is getting rich faster than you are. This creates a state of chronic low-level anxiety. You check your phone first thing in the morning, not to connect with people, but to check prices. You feel a tight knot in your stomach when the market turns red. You feel a rush of adrenaline when it turns green. You are not investing. You are addicted. You have allowed your emotional well-being to be pegged to a number on a screen that you cannot control. And let us be honest about the cost of this addiction. We talk about return on investment in terms of currency. But what is the return on investment on your life? How many hours have you spent researching stocks that ultimately went nowhere? How many dinners with your family have been interrupted because you were mentally checking a chart? How much sleep have you lost, wondering what the Federal Reserve will do next week? In the culture of more time is just another resource to be converted into money. We trade our limited days on this earth for digital numbers in a server bank. We convince ourselves that we are doing it for our future. We say that we are sacrificing now so that we can be free later. But this is a lie we tell ourselves to justify the pain. Because when later comes, the habit of wanting more will still be there. You cannot turn off a mindset that you have practiced for 40 years. If you cannot find peace with $100,000, you will not find it with $10 million. You will just have a more expensive form of anxiety. This is why we see billionaires who are miserable. This is why we see successful traders who jump out of windows, because they won the game of more, but they lost the game of life. The American style of investing is often compared to a race car. It is fast, it is loud, it is exciting. It requires constant tuning and constant attention. And if you take your eyes off the road for 1 second, you crash. But there is another vehicle. There is another way to travel. And to find it, we must look north. We must leave the noise of the trading floor and travel to the quiet forests of Sweden. We must understand that there is a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is having a lot of money. Being wealthy is having a lot of time. And the only way to bridge that gap is to step off the treadmill. It is to stop asking for more and to start understanding the power of enough. So what is the alternative? If we stop running on the treadmill of more, where do we go? We go to a concept that is deeply embedded in the cultural DNA of Scandinavia. It is a word that is difficult to translate into English because it is not just a word. It is a feeling. It is a social code. It is a way of looking at the world. The word is Lagom, pronounced Lagom. To understand it, we must go back in time. There is a legend about where this word comes from. It goes back to the time of the Vikings. Picture a group of Viking warriors sitting around a fire after a long, hard day. They are tired, they are hungry, and they have a single horn filled with mead to drink. The horn is passed around the circle from one warrior to the next. Now imagine if the first warrior is greedy. Imagine he drinks half the horn in one deep gulp. He has satisfied his immediate thirst, but now the others in the circle will look at him with anger. He has disrupted the balance of the group. He has taken more than his share. But imagine the opposite. Imagine he is too timid. Imagine he takes only a tiny sip, hardly wetting his lips because he is afraid to take too much. Now he remains thirsty. He remains weak. And a weak warrior is a liability to the group. So the warrior must drink Lagom. He must drink exactly enough to quench his thirst and restore his strength, but he must leave exactly enough for everyone else in the circle. It translates to around the team. It creates a perfect balance where individual needs are met without destroying the collective stability. Over centuries, this idea moved from the campfire to the boardroom and to the bank account. In the modern world, Lagom is often misunderstood by outsiders. People from the United States or the United Kingdom often hear about Lagom and they think it sounds boring. They think it means settling for mediocrity. They think it means having no ambition. They think it means being average. But this is a massive mistake. Lagom is not about being average. Lagom is about being optimal. It is about finding the sweet spot where the return on your effort is highest. Think about the temperature of the room you are sitting in right now. If the room is freezing cold, you are miserable. You cannot focus on anything but the cold. If the room is boiling hot, you are sweating and uncomfortable. You are equally miserable. There's a specific temperature range in the middle where you do not even notice the temperature. You are simply comfortable. You are free to focus on your work or your family or your thoughts. That is Lagom. Now let's apply this to money. Most people believe that the graph of money and happiness is a straight line going up forever. They think that if they have $1 million, they are happy. And if they have $10 million, they are 10 times happier. But the data shows this is false. The graph is not a straight line, it is a curve. At the bottom of the curve, when you are poor, money is everything. If you cannot pay for food or shelter or medicine, then every dollar you earn brings a massive spike in happiness. This is because money solves survival. But as you climb the curve, something interesting happens. Once your basic needs are met, and once you have a layer of security, the curve starts to flatten. The extra happiness you get from buying a luxury car instead of a reliable car is very small. The extra happiness you get from a 10-bedroom house compared to a 4-bedroom house is almost zero. In fact, it often becomes negative. This is the part that the culture of more hides from you. Wealth has a gravity to it. It requires management. It requires protection. If you own 10 rental properties, you have 10 times the headaches of someone who owns one. You have tax complications. You have legal liabilities. You have the constant fear of losing what you have built. You become a servant to your own assets. You start out owning the money, but eventually the money owns you. Lagom is the peak of that curve. It is the point where you have enough wealth to be completely free from worry, but not so much wealth that you become a prisoner of complexity. It is the point where you can sleep soundly at night. It is the state of financial existence where money stops being the main character in the movie of your life and starts being what it was always meant to be. A supporting actor, a tool, a means to an end, not the end itself. When you invest with a Lagom mindset, you are not trying to conquer the world. You are trying to build a fortress of solitude. You are trying to reach that beautiful state of equilibrium where you have everything you need and nothing that you do not. But how do we actually do this? How do we take this Viking philosophy and turn it into a stock market portfolio that works in the 21st century? How do we build a strategy that protects us from inflation and market crashes without demanding that we stare at screens all day? That is exactly what we are going to look at next. Now we come to the practical application. We have talked about the philosophy and the history, but how does this actually look in your brokerage account? If you were to open the portfolio of a true Lagom investor, what would you see? The first thing you would notice is what is missing. You would not see 100 different ticker symbols scrolling across the screen. You would not see complex options contracts or leveraged positions that expire in 2 days. You would not see the hot stock that everyone on social media is talking about this week. Instead, you would see something that looks almost disappointingly simple. You would see perhaps 2 or 3 funds, total stock market, total international market, and perhaps a bond fund for stability. That is it. To the average American investor conditioned by the culture of more, this looks lazy. It looks unsophisticated. They ask, where is the alpha? Where is the edge? Where is the strategy to beat the market? But the Lagom investor knows something that the complex investor ignores. Complexity is fragile. The more moving parts a machine has, the more likely it is to break. The more decisions you have to make, the more likely you are to make a mistake. Every time you buy or sell a stock, you are making a decision. You have to decide the entry price. You have to decide the exit price. You have to decide the position size. You have to decide how to react to earnings reports. You have to decide how to react to interest rate changes. That is thousands of decision points over a lifetime. And you only have to be wrong on a few of them to destroy your wealth. The Lagom portfolio removes the decision-making process entirely. It accepts a simple truth. The market average is enough. Over the last 100 years, the stock market has returned an average of roughly 10% per year. If you simply buy the entire market and do nothing else, you get that 10%. You do not have to be smart. You do not have to be lucky. You just have to be patient. And here is the magic that Wall Street does not want you to know. That boring average return outperforms the vast majority of professional hedge fund managers over the long term. The professionals are working 80 hours a week. They have teams of analysts with PhDs. They have supercomputers. And they still lose to the Lagom investor who does absolutely nothing. Why? Because the professionals are paying the price of complexity. They pay high fees, they pay taxes on short-term gains. They pay the emotional cost of stress, which leads to bad decisions. The Lagom investor pays almost zero fees. They pay almost zero taxes because they never sell. And most importantly, they pay zero emotional cost. This is the concept of the invisible portfolio. A Lagom portfolio is designed to be invisible in your daily life. It is set up on an automatic transfer from your paycheck. The money leaves your bank account and goes into your investments before you even see it. It is invested automatically into broad index funds, and then nothing happens. There are no notifications on your phone. There are no urgent emails to read. The system runs in the background like the plumbing in your house. You do not think about your water pipes every day. You trust that when you turn the tap on, the water will flow. You should treat your wealth the exact same way. Imagine the freedom of that. Imagine waking up in the morning and the stock market is crashing. The news is screaming panic. Your friends are texting you asking if you are selling. But you are calm. You pour your coffee. You look out the window. You do not even log into your account. Because you know that your strategy was not built for today. It was built for 20 years from today. You know that by owning the entire market, you own the resilience of human innovation. Companies will fail. Sectors will shrink. But the economy as a whole will adapt and grow. You are betting on the forest, not on the individual tree. This is the security floor we talked about earlier. By accepting that you will never get rich overnight, you guarantee that you will never become poor overnight. You eliminate the risk of ruin. And when you eliminate the fear of ruin, you unlock a different kind of return. It is a return that cannot be measured in percentages or dollars. It is the emotional dividend. It is the return of your attention. While other investors are glued to their screens stressing over every red candle on a chart, you are out living your life. You are playing with your children. You are reading a book. You are walking in the woods. You are doing your work well because your mind is clear. This is the ultimate efficiency of Lagom. It allows you to get 80% of the results with only 1% of the effort. And in a finite life, effort is a currency that we must spend wisely. Do you want to spend your life managing your money? Or do you want your money to manage itself so you can spend your life? This brings us to the final and most important pillar of this philosophy. If we are not chasing more money, then what are we chasing? If we reclaim all this time and energy, what do we do with it? The answer lies in understanding the true definition of wealth in the Nordic mindset. It is not about the balance in the bank. It is about the wealth of time. In the United States, and in much of the ambitious world, we measure wealth in dollars. We look at net worth, we look at asset valuations, we keep score with currency. But in the Nordic countries, there is an understanding that currency is actually the lowest form of wealth. The highest form of wealth is time. There is a concept that is becoming popular in financial circles called being a time billionaire. If you are 20 years old, you likely have 2 billion seconds left to live. If you are 50 years old, you might have less than 1 billion seconds left. A billionaire in dollars who is 80 years old would trade every single penny he has to be a broke 20-year-old again. He would trade his money for time, because time is the only resource that is strictly non-renewable. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose a house and buy another one. But you cannot get back the hour you spent stressing over a market correction. That hour is gone forever. This is why the Lagom philosophy is so critical. It is not just about asset allocation. It is about time allocation. In Sweden, there is a tradition called Fika. To an outsider, it looks like a coffee break. But it is not just a coffee break. It is a deliberate pause. It is a moment where work stops, where the screens are turned off, where you sit with a colleague or a friend and you simply exist. It is a ritual that honors the present moment. The American investor often cannot enjoy a Fika. Even if they are sitting in a cafe, their mind is somewhere else. Their mind is in the future, worrying about retirement. Or their mind is in the past, regretting a missed opportunity. They are physically present, but mentally absent. They are time poor. The Lagom investor uses their boring automated portfolio to buy back their presence. Because they know their money is taken care of, they have the mental bandwidth to actually taste their coffee. They have the freedom to leave the office at 4 p.m, which is standard in Scandinavia, to pick up their children. They have the freedom to take 4 weeks of vacation in the summer and completely disconnect. They do not do this because they are lazy. They do this because they understand the point of the game. What is the point of accumulating $3 million if you have high blood pressure and you do not know your own children? What is the point of beating the market if the stress of doing so beats you? True wealth is the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I own my day. I do not owe my attention to the market. I do not owe my emotion to the news cycle. I am the captain of my own ship. And this brings us to the final realization. The transition from the culture of more to the culture of enough is difficult. Your ego will fight it. Your ego wants to be the hero who picked the winning stock. Your ego wants to brag at dinner parties about your returns, but you must ask yourself what you truly want. Do you want to be admired by others for your money, or do you want to be happy with yourself for your life? The Lagom method is a surrender. You surrender the need to be special. You surrender the need to be smarter than everyone else. You surrender the addiction to the noise. And in that surrender, you find victory. You find that by accepting good enough results, you actually achieve a great life. You find that by doing less, you achieve more of what matters. You build a portfolio that acts like a strong, silent foundation. It does not scream for attention. It simply holds you up. It supports the house of your life so that you can live inside it. So my challenge to you today is simple. Look at your financial life. Look at your habits. Are you drinking the whole horn of mead, trying to consume everything the market offers? Are you running on the treadmill, chasing a horizon that keeps moving away? Or are you ready to find your balance? Are you ready to define what is enough for you? It takes courage to be boring. It takes strength to walk away from the casino when everyone else is still playing. But the peace you will find on the other side is worth more than any capital gain. Let the market scream. Let the traders panic. Let the world chase more. You have something better. You have enough. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. I know how valuable it is. If this message resonated with you, and if you are looking for a place to rest your mind in a chaotic financial world, then please consider subscribing to Mindset for Wealth. We do not promise to make you a millionaire overnight. We promise something much harder to find. We promise clarity. We promise perspective. And we promise to help you build a mindset that can weather any storm. If you are ready to continue this journey, I recommend you watch the video on the screen now. It will help you take the next step in finding your financial peace. Until next time, find your Lagom and be free.